Hey guys, we are live. Hi Mike, how are you?
Hi, Tana. I'm well. I'm well. I mean, the heat this week, really drained me
Oh
out.
my God, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
It's
The
crazy.
oh, it's just so hot. Yeah.
I was thinking, is it only me? And then, but no, it's not me. It's just that the heat is crazy.
Yes. I think
Yeah,
it sap up a lot of my energy. The heat
yeah,
this week.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
But I
know.
guess, but I guess when you got
Wow.
view, when you got views like this, you know what? It's okay, lah.
Yes.
You move
In
this side.
fact, I went for a quick brunch drive lah. I would say brunch drive with Isaac.
Hmm.
This morning we went to this Tamiang place lah. Down in
Oh,
Negeri. Everybody was talking about it.
oh
Yeah.
yeah, all
So
the
yeah.
highway, the highway. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, the highway. Actually, very
Hmm.
very nice scenery. Down that
Hmm.
way. Yeah. Mm,
Hmm.
mm, yeah.
And the best
So.
part was today. I went to the same drive, but the opposite end. I went to the
Mm.
Ulangat past there. Halfway through, I
Oh,
stopped the
okay.
car. I told my wife, "Here, take over." So this is my first time. This is my first time my wife actually got in the car. So first time I got
Okay.
in the car. First time I was driving the car with her, and
Awesome.
first time and halfway through I said drive. She said she hasn't driven a manual in maybe about I don't know 7 years, 8 years, whatever. So
Well,
she
yep.
got in the manual and she drove. First gear a bit problem, but after a while she okay lah. She can lah, So yeah, so I
Wow.
got her. So I got her driving the manual Boxster. Hopefully she will like feel okay lah. Get some Porsche loving in there, and
Yep.
yeah. So
Nice.
keep the
So
poison alive.
and this yellow on your car,
Yeah,
yeah, just fits it to the core. Yeah,
yeah.
the yellow color
It's
on your
a
car. It's so
it's a
beautiful. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yes.
it's like some Porsches tend to be aggressive. Some tend to be
Yep.
like menacing. Some this one is just cute. I get a vibe of
Yes.
like a mini vibe because it's very fun, cheerful, lively.
Yep.
The vibe is more of that like it's just a very happy vibe. So yeah,
Yes.
can't complain.
Yes. Because I've been taking care of a old 964 for a client.
Mm,
Uh, Now the car has gone to a new home. Yeah.
mm,
And when I drive that car around, right, with the Martini livery
mm,
and all that, yeah,
mm.
it gives out a very nice vibe. People just smile at you, and just acknowledge you with the car.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just a very, very nice feeling. I think you get the same with this car of yours, lah.
Oh, yeah. It's a
Yeah.
yellow Boxster, yellow Boxster, and it's
Right.
also given the fact that it's the shape is different. It's not like a typical Porsche design. You know what I mean? Like Porsches have got the
Yes.
round lights and stuff. People,
Yes.
oh, this is like a bit more old, and they have a look at it, and it's a nice feeling, lah, you know.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so let's go to an intro, and then we're gonna start to do introductions and welcome today's guest.
Yep.
So let's get the show on the road with our intro. Welcome back, guys. Another Sunday. The fact
Yep.
if you joined us so early before the close started, I'm so thankful to you guys because in normal day I would say get out there, don't stay indoors, enjoy the weekend. Because yeah, limitations over, you can cross the states and people are traveling quite a
Yes.
bit, Mike.
Correct. Yes.
Everybody's traveling. So
Yes.
it's a fun thing to see
Actually, in the
people
last
traveling.
5 days, I've gone to three different states. Not bad.
Woo!
Two different states lah, including Sligo. Yeah, if we a bit to
Okay,
Malacca,
so
to catch up with some.
we're
Yep.
gonna welcome today's guest here. Let's
Yes.
all say hi to Michael. Hey, Michael, how are you, man?
Hi, Tana. Hi,
Mm.
Mike.
Hi, Mike.
Hi.
Mike to Mike.
So, so, so this is Michael
Yep.
from Audio Creations.
Yep.
He's a wizard when it comes to audio, and
Yes,
Mike has
definitely.
got his work done on his BMW, which I
Yep.
might add is for sale, guys. Sadly, but Mike's BMW is for sale. You want
Yep.
to check out the link? Go to I guess go to Horizon page. You can see somewhere there. It's up. Maybe later on the show we'll put a link on the
Yep.
ad itself.
Mm.
It's a beautiful car, and Michael has actually done perfection to this audio system because I think BMW, Audi, and Mercedes, you got to really pay high premium to get
Yep.
high quality audio. But even then, the high quality audio won't be uh, really high quality. There's always something they always pull back,
Yep.
like,
Mm.
and that's where people like Michael comes in. So hi, Michael, how
Yes.
are you, man?
Hi, good. I'm good. Except
Very.
for the weather, like you said.
Oh, it's hot. It's hot,
Yeah,
man.
very
Yeah,
hot.
it's so hot,
Yeah.
so hot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm,
Mm.
we've got some guys
yes,
joining
yes.
us. Just say hi to Paul. Hey, hi, Paul. How are you?
Hi, Paul.
We got Kanesan here. Hi,
Hi,
Kanesan.
Kennison.
Thanks for joining us again. Thank you so
Hello.
Yep.
much. Loyal fan is Kanesan. Okay, thank you so much.
Yes. Yes.
Sean Ko, another
Definitely.
loyal fan here. Thank you,
Yep.
guys. Drew Siang. Hey, Drew. And then
Hi, Drew.
Kanesan asked a question which I won't answer in front of my wife. My wife watches all my video. How much is the total cost of the microphone? I will tell her first, and then bro, I'll do the video. But just
Yes.
say it's no longer five figure lah. So Porsche Boxster, these are all five figures. My Porsche Boxster is not five figure. It has entered six figure territory already. But you know what? One of a kind, like the only Porsche Boxster manual 986 in Malaysia that I know of at
Yep.
least. So
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
complaining lah. And I'll be spending a lot more money on this. You can check out Mike and myself. We're doing a lot of work on this.
Yep.
Tuning is the name of the game, and I guess if we talk about tuning, there's always a lot of tuning involved, like ECU tuning. We did about suspensions last few weeks back, and today it's about
Yep.
audio because somewhere
Yes.
down the track about cars, we will come to
Yep.
audio tuning, and that's where
Yes.
Michael comes in, talk about tuning, and people will spend big money on audio, isn't it, Michael? Because some people like
Yep.
audio, some people like suspension, some people like different stuff, and I can
Mm.
Yes.
imagine they can go really overboard with audio,
Some people will spend more on the audio than the value of the car itself. Yeah. Yeah, seriously, I've have many customers and friends that just have a
Yep.
Kanchil,
Mm,
right? But of course, this Kanchil is not their only car. There are many cars, but they will
mm,
spend like 50,000, 100,000 on audio on the Kanchil.
mm.
Mm.
I
Wow.
mean, interesting is that I've got a friend who's audiophile. I mean, he's into audio and he does really he got like both system in his house and all that bits and pieces, and he tells me, yeah, like for an audio guy to spend like 5-10K is nothing to spend on audio system,
Yes.
but the
Yep.
quality you get in a car sometimes it's quite impressive because
Yes.
you can't get that enclosure, that control of the sound, the cabin, like how will you get into a house? Because a house is a lot of things you got to sound that thing and all that stuff. In a
Yep.
car, you can get very high quality. That's why they like to spend money on cars. What's your thought actually? Spending money on cars versus the house audio.
Um, okay, one thing, some people spend more time in the car than at home, right?
True.
And then,
Yep.
of course, when at home, they have to find a time where they can indulge in this hobby when
Very true.
the kids are not around, the kids don't suddenly come in the room, and then your wife won't call you to help them in the kitchen. But in the car, it's like your own space. You can
Mm.
drive as far as you want. You can drive to a quiet place. You can drive all the way to Genting and just open the windows. Yeah, so it's like your own private
Bad
room,
gift.
but which you can carry anywhere. You can go to a
Yep.
place where nobody can find you also.
It's
Yes.
like a man
Yes.
cave, almost like if you think about it.
Yeah,
It's a man
correct,
cave
correct.
in the
But this is a
states.
portable man cave which you can
Ooh.
bring
Yep.
wherever you want to
Yep. Yep.
go.
Mm.
Yep.
I
Mm,
Yep.
mean,
I.
Carnation tells you over here, I'm totally into audio. You need to check out
Mm.
Michael. We'll give a link
Mm.
to Michael's contact at the end of the show.
mhm.
Yep.
But yeah, it's just crazy. We got Arif here. Yes, I can agree. When you're Kaki audio, really, you would spend much on audio system. Kaki
Yes.
audio.
Yes.
Yeah.
But having said that, right, because audio, it can be home, it can be a car, or it could be portable audio, people playing with headphones and headphone amps.
Yep.
Mm,
So if you ask me which one, of course, is more worth spending on, is it's preference. But at the end
Yep.
of the day, once you start on one of it, eventually you move on to the other one. For example, you may start off with just headphones.
Mm.
mm,
Yep.
Then after that, you start buying speakers for your computer, and then
yeah.
then you
Mm.
start looking into car. So it's all related. It's still under
Mm.
audio, but it's a bit too expensive to go and do all of it one go, lah. But you will start
I
off
mean,
with one of it. Yeah,
yes. Yes. Yes.
yeah.
I mean, like for myself, actually, I haven't played car audio for a very, very long time, lah. Yeah. It never happened was in my BMW. It has all the options in the car, but the stereo was the most basic system. in my 335. There wasn't even a tweeter in it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It was just a six speaker system. Yeah,
Mm.
without tweeters. Yeah.
I
And
remember. Yeah.
yeah, and when I travel on the highway, right, maybe I'm doing 100, 120. I cannot even listen to the audio properly. Yeah. So then I told myself I done my suspension, done my tuning, everything okay already. But now I'm going out station, go for my drives and whatnot. The music is terrible. So I called Michael lah. And my aim was just to put in a tweeter and actually a 4-inch mid range only. But
Mm.
somehow Michael convinced me to buy the woofer lah, buy the amps lah, put everything in, which I did. Yeah.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
one thing always struck me is that people spend money and they always buy all or they want to spend the best of anything, or they end up being
Yep.
the best of something, or maybe the head unit, or maybe the tweeter and stuff like,
Mm.
um but I guess, how do you draw a line lah? I mean, what do you spend money first for basic car?
Okay.
What will you spend money first? What's the most important thing if you're starting out on your origin journey, and not to like go back and then waste money in something? What would be the first thing that you do if you have a car? Let's say a Conti car lah. Let's say a BW or Audi or a BM, a Merc, whatever. What's the first thing you think that you can do to upgrade
Mm.
your audio system with the car?
Yeah.
Okay, this question, if you ask me 10, 15 years ago, the answer will be different, a bit different than now. Okay, because 10,
Yep.
15 years ago, when you look at many cars, the sound system, anything you change first makes a big difference,
Mm, mm.
right? But these days, you jump in most cars, even a Proton, latest Proton, the sound quality is not bad already,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
You notice that?
Agree with that.
Yep.
Yes.
Correct. I agree. I test a lot of cars and I noticed that. I mean, how do I say? The mid-level cars have got pretty good audio system, but I
Mm.
find on the higher end cars that they segregate by their low tier high end cars, the sound system is crap.
Mhm.
I don't want to say much, like, like
Yeah.
all the
Yeah. Yeah.
The Conti cars. I noticed that if you don't buy the highest spec version, the normal spec version, the audio system is crap. It's like, I can't believe that you pay so much for and you get this audio. I
Mhm.
find that. Whereas when a Proton was, I'm like, oh, not bad for Proton, you know.
Yep.
Mhm. But okay, so 10, 15 years ago, it actually
Mm,
makes more sense usually to change the player first, right?
mm,
Because
Mm.
a lot of cars then had cassette player only, or very simple CD player,
Yep.
and the CD player being the most basic one, the voltage out is very weak. So
Yep.
by just changing the player to another OEM player, not OEM player, to an aftermarket player,
Yep.
the difference is a lot because it's feeding your speakers much more power, right?
mm, mm,
Yep.
Yeah, but these days the player that comes with any car is really very good. So it makes no sense to throw away something that is working, and you're going to buy now. These days, a lot of players are made in China. You may be worse off in the other
Yep.
yep.
sense. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
these days, it's actually better to add value to your system, as in add something in without having to take anything out from your car.
I see.
Previously, you have to take
Yes.
something out and then replace, right?
Mm,
So for newer cars, which are maybe 8 years, 5 years and below, it's much better to add on a DSP amplifier, a
Yep.
two-in-one, they call it. Okay,
Mm.
not just a regular amplifier.
Yep.
Amplifiers can be 2 channel, 4 channel, 5 channel, but
mm,
this amplifier has a built-in DSP. It's like a two-in-one.
mm.
Okay,
Yep.
You got to
so
connect. Yeah.
a lot of people will argue that, oh, if I add in a two-in-one, it won't sound as good as a separate
Separate channel.
DSP and a
Mm.
separate amp. This
Yep.
is true maybe 5 years ago. Okay, 5 years ago, when you go for any two-in-one, even coffee, when you go for any two-in-one, clearly, clearly it's not as good as the Nescafe, and you put in your own milk and everything,
Yeah.
right? But
Yep.
you notice these days the two-in-one tastes a lot better. Brands like Check Hub, a lot of brands, the
Yep.
two-in-one actually tastes much better than you make your own sometimes.
Mm, mm,
Yeah.
Yep.
So
Yes.
things has evolved. Yeah. The early
mm,
stage of two-in-one weren't very good, but these days everything has been
mm.
improved in a way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, from my experience, what you have done to my car. Yeah.
Mhm.
the DSP and the amp together,
Mhm.
and because when I first did the installation, yeah, the installer, what he did, the installer which you asked me to go to, what he did was just to make the system run, right?
Mm-mm.
Uh,
It wasn't, it
what to
wasn't,
make the
it wasn't
system run
tuned.
and also to make sure your speakers are being protected, you
Correct.
know,
Mm-mm.
because
Yes,
a lot of
yes,
people when they first install, first thing they do is crank up the volume. So
yep,
if the installer didn't set a protection for your tweeters, it would damage your tweeters,
yep,
Mm-mm.
right? Yeah. So what
yes,
he did was just to protect your speakers and
yep,
make sure the levels are not overly, and there was nothing done to the equalizer as well. It was
correct.
flat. Yeah, it was flat.
Yes, yes, correct,
Yeah.
correct.
Talking about power units, so John David made a comment here. Tana, no matter how much you spend on your car audio hardware system, comes to down system setup first and see how the tuner does the job. Because I heard this concept before, like
Yep.
when come on factory back then, they will match the output of the player to the speaker uh, as close as possible, but where you should be like almost like playing like the max capacity of the player should only hit like three-quarter of the capacity of the speaker. So you're never maxing out the speaker. The speaker is not working as hard. So back then I know that there was this concept of that. Like, so I guess that's what that matching and see what the tuner does. Like you're saying, what the tuner today comes all pretty
Mm.
powerful, you know. But how did they
Yeah.
protect the tuner from burning out the speakers from factory?
Okay. Any factory speakers, they will usually put a small little capacitor to
Hmm?
protect
Yep,
the tweeters, right?
yep.
Oh.
Mm.
This capacitor will cost like 10 cents or even 5
Mm,
cents.
mm,
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but it does its job to protect the tweeters.
mm,
But when we start going into more serious audio, what they
mm.
Yep.
do is they run without this capacitor, and they will use a DSP to do the job of this
I see, I see.
capacitor,
Mm.
right?
Mm, mm, mm,
So
Yes.
because that 5 cents or 10 cents capacitor uh, may also draw some power from your system. It will suck some power,
Mm. Yep.
right? But when you run active as in direct from your DSP,
Yep.
you don't get this loss in
mm.
power, right?
So
But
from a
when
concept
you
point of
run
view,
through DSP, the danger is without this capacitor, if the tuner doesn't know what he's doing or the end user does not know
mm,
what he's doing, it could actually damage the tweeters.
mm. So
Yeah.
the concept of the capacitor is supposed to be it's like a
To,
battery lah. Capacity is a battery, like a battery. It sucks out energy. So you're saying that at a point where too much energy is there, the capacitor will hold the energy instead of destroying the speakers lah.
no,
I cut.
there's a few different types of capacitor.
Mm,
Capacitor can
Mm.
be like a temporary power storage, like you said,
yep.
and
Mm,
Yep.
capacitor can be a filter as well. In terms of
mm,
Mm.
audio for speakers, the capacitor serves as a filter. So it's
mm, mm.
cutting out the low frequency from going into the tweeters,
I see, I see.
right?
Yep.
So tweeters,
Mm.
you see, it doesn't have any moving parts like your normal speakers. When you play bass, you can
Yep.
see the
Yep.
woofer going in and out, right?
Mm,
Yep.
Tweeters doesn't move. So if you throw in bass signal to it, it will over excavate, it will blow it. Okay, because
mm.
it's
Yep.
not meant to play anything.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yes.
So we are talking about capacitors as a filter, so that the tweeter doesn't have to play the lower range of frequencies.
so
Like the
like
general frequency
yeah,
is 20
yeah.
hertz to 20
Mm,
kilohertz. Okay, 20 kilohertz means
Yep.
20,000 hertz.
yep.
So we are trying to play, for example, if your capacitor is blocking anything below 5,000 from going into the tweeters, 5,000 hertz. Yeah, you know what I mean?
So yeah, so like I remember like so what I'm saying is like but the like old time lah, like
Mhm.
brothers lah, like 20 years ago, you go brothers lah, okay. Maybe they're better now lah. But back then, you know, Vira brothers, I go remember going and they just okay, they wire the tweeter directly to the speaker output. That actually is damaging the tweeter on a long term basis lah.
Uh, it's very difficult to say because behind the tweeter could be a small little cap attached to it,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
right? But if you
To
look
filter
at
out, yeah.
higher end speakers, normally you put the capacitor separately. It's not attached to the tweeters.
Mm,
Okay, this may sound a bit technical. These
mm,
capacitors, like the 5 cent ones, okay, compared to one which is 100 ringgit per capacitor, although it's the same value, that means it's
Yep.
the printing on it, it says that it's 4.7 microfarad. I mean,
Yeah. That's correct. Yeah.
farad or whatever, right?
Mm,
So when you look at the higher end ones of the same value, it's much bigger.
mm,
The
That's why it's much
capacitor.
more expensive. The capacitor, the physical
mm.
size of the capacitor.
Okay.
So
Okay.
they can't put a huge physical size capacitor on behind your tweeters, right? You will find
Mm,
it very difficult to mount it in your car, right?
Yeah.
So this one needs to sit in a separate box, which they call it the passive crossover. You see, when you buy the component set, it comes with a box, right?
Yes.
mm.
Yeah,
Separate
yeah,
box. Yeah.
separate box. And normally
Yes.
Mm.
this box, okay, they don't use a 5 cent capacitor. Maybe they use a 50 cent capacitor, lah, still
Okay.
relatively cheap.
Yes. Correct.
But when you start going to very high end, it can be then $30 per capacitor, $100, 100 ringgit per capacitor. It can be even 1,000 ringgit per capacitor. So what is the difference between this capacitor is the material they use inside. The expensive ones, they use silver, they have some oil inside, a lot of things like paper and oil, lot of things, a lot of technology into it as well.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Well, but that's why you see certain speakers in home audio,
mm.
the most expensive item in that home speaker is actually the crossovers inside the speakers, but we don't see it.
Ah, I see.
Correct.
Yeah.
Mm, mm,
But that speaker being 100 over 1,000 or even half a million ringgit, they are
mm.
forced to make it physically to look very nice also.
Of course.
So they spend a lot on the
Aesthetic.
enclosure and everything. Yeah.
Mm.
But if you look at the speaker driver itself being used in this high-end speakers, this half a million ringgit speakers, they could be also seen in like 10, 20,000 ringgit speakers. It's the same
Mm,
drivers, but the
mm,
enclosure, they spend a lot more engineering. They use expensive wood. They do a lot of bracing inside, which we don't see.
Yep.
All we see is one box only, a square box. But
Yep.
yeah.
inside the bracing, the design, and everything, we don't see it. And the most important thing inside, we don't see the crossover as well.
Yep.
It's
Yeah,
the electronics, like, basically,
yeah.
which
Very,
you
very
can't see.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm,
So some people will ask, then why don't they put the crossover outside so people can see what they're paying for? If they
mm.
do that, right, a lot of wives will not allow the husband to buy it because suddenly the one box sitting. Already allow them to buy the speaker, already, like pushing the limits. You another box sitting outside, it takes up so much space.
Michael, I got a
Which,
comment here from Max Low.
yeah,
You spend
yeah,
big sum on com audio. Firstly,
Yeah.
approved from HM, Headmaster.
Yes,
More
correct.
difficult than second Magnum. Spend in car
Mm.
audio, Headmaster usually difficult to notice.
yeah. Max,
Yes,
Max,
yes,
Max also know his stuff because he is the Max
Audio
audio
guy.
guy.
Yeah, audio guy.
Yes,
So, yes,
yes,
correct.
yes.
It's a good one,
Very
man.
true,
Good
lah,
one.
Max. Very true. Yeah.
Ladies normally in the car, as long as you don't take up the boot space, they are fine. You put the stuff under the seat, in the dashboard, wherever they can't see it. So
You are the
no
man to
Yes.
comments.
get, lah, man. If you can make the speaker look original and stock even better, they won't realize it's actually what they call modified. They're like, oh,
I,
okay lah, this car not
Yeah.
bad, speaker.
Yeah. When
yeah,
it comes
I,
to car audio, the item which takes up the most space is the subwoofer. I think Max would know that,
yep.
right? It
Mm.
takes
Yes.
up a lot of space. So people will start trying to put like under seat subwoofers,
Mm.
right? But then I think Max will know. So any subwoofer for the woofer to breathe, it needs an enclosure,
Yes.
right? We're not talking about power. We're talking about the
Yep.
enclosure for the
Enclosure lah.
drivers itself. Yes.
Physical
Correct.
space, lah. Yeah.
Physical
Yes.
space. So
Yes.
the subwoofers which you can get out of those under seat ones, maximum it can be 8 to 10 inch in a very small box. So when
Yep.
you put in the small box, it limits the frequency that it can go down. It doesn't go very low. So the bass
Yep.
you get is more of punchy bass, which will help more of your mid bass lah. You won't get the
Correct.
low rumble.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That one physically you need a subwoofer, which
I,
the only place to put is behind in your trunk lah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean that's something I noticed in my BMW as well, lah.
Yeah.
Because my BMW, naturally, the original enclosure, is
It's under the
underneath.
seats.
Yes.
So,
Mm.
so I have
And
a
I
question.
think it,
Sorry.
yeah, and I think for what it is, it's doing a decent job, lah. Because there are some chambers in there that actually goes to the side seal of the car on the BMW, so that is quite good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so like here, this guy says, my Echo VW so loud, can't hear anything, lah. So, what do you
That
do
said,
for, let's say,
That said,
yeah,
your car, Go and soundproof it lah. Then the car become much heavier.
Okay, one way to gauge whether your sound system is, I wouldn't say perfect, but
Yep.
is to a certain standard, is when you play at a loud volume, you still can, if there are two or three persons in the car, when you talk, you still can hear each other.
Mm.
But if you are playing at a certain volume and you start talking and then it sounds noisy, you can't hear each other, then you need to do some soundproofing to your sound system,
Mm.
or and in fact tuning as well,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
The tuning. So a good sound system, you can be playing loud, but when you talk, you still can hear each other.
Yes.
Oh,
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
It sounds very natural also
yeah.
lah. Yeah.
This has nothing to do with how high end your car is. Of course, when you buy a Bentley, a Rolls Royce, it's naturally quieter, so you have to spend less money on the soundproofing. You buy Kanchil, of course, you have to spend more on doing the soundproofing. It's not the other way. It's not like more
Yep.
expensive car, you have to spend more. This is cheaper car, you have to spend more. Yeah, it's the
mm-mm.
other way.
Soundproofing and stuff.
So, yeah. So if you have expensive car, then you actually should spend. I mean, it makes more sense for you to
Spend less.
spend on audio. No,
Mm.
to go into audio, because your car
Audio
is really,
already good enough. Yeah.
it's already, not to say good enough, but you have to do less to
The enclosure.
maximize what you put in.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yes. Yes.
So John Dave made a comment over here. Also, even your speakers are 2.1, 5.1, 7.1, 8.1. If you can't get the stereo right, then you'll be hearing mono the whole time, or in a way calibration, time alignment. So it's like you can have the
Yep.
equipment, but if you're not properly tuned by someone like expert like yourself, Michael,
Yep.
it's pointless. Like, it's just you can buy the audio, but you can't buy talent, lah, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. The tuning part is very important, lah. Because when
Yeah.
after Michael tuned my system, the sound and the sound stage and all that, it's just so much better. Yeah.
Mm,
Mm, mm.
Okay, the difference between tuning these days with the new generation of
Yep.
DSPs compared to
Yep.
10 years ago. 10 years ago, the DSP, if you look at it, is quite
Yep.
similar to home audio, uh,
Mm,
those audio AV amps, like when you
yep.
watch a movie or home theater amps, because
Mm,
home theater amps have time alignment and
yep.
level setting and all. It's the same thing. But the
Yes.
problem is when they simulate this in the car
Mm,
and you start playing with it. I'm talking about 10 years ago. It
yep.
sounds very digital. It
Mm,
doesn't, when you start playing music, it doesn't sound as good as your home audio stereo system,
yep.
mm,
right? Because home theater is meant for movies, not really for listening to music. I'm sure you
mm,
all know
Yeah.
that, right?
mm,
Yeah.
Yeah.
mm.
At most, you will probably play a concert DVD or concert Blu-ray on it, but you will not really seriously listen to music on a home theater system, right?
Correct,
Yeah.
correct.
True,
Like
true.
Yep.
like my friend who's the audiophile, he's got one system just to play like
Home
music
theater.
uh, for home theater, which is like a
Yes.
5.1 or 7, whatever. And another
Yep.
system is also different set speakers purely for
Two
audio.
channel.
Two
Yeah,
channels.
two
So for
channel.
audio,
Yeah.
yeah. So he got like very high end stuff lah.
Mm,
But it's
yep.
a different system altogether. He said, now I said, but same, no, no, it's not the same, fella. It's different. The audio is different. So it's just yeah, I didn't know about it until I saw that.
Yeah. So those days you have to do that. You need a home theater system. You need a two channel stereo system. You need to spend on two, which costs a lot of money.
Yep.
And you need
Mm-mm.
two different locations also. I mean two different rooms also.
Mm.
Because if you cram everything in one room, one thing, it doesn't look very nice. Second
Yep.
thing
Yep.
is one speaker may affect the other speaker also. Because when one driver is moving, it actually moves the air around you. It may also
Mm.
affect when there are other speakers in the same room,
Yep.
right?
Mm.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So,
Yep.
but the new generation of DSP now, okay, they have already bridged the gap where it doesn't sound like home theater anymore. It doesn't sound digital anymore.
Mm,
Now you can actually have uh, DSP technology, but for car audio, for home audio. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Last
Yeah.
time when you go into DSPs, like the Alpine units, the Pioneer units, the F1 status, yeah, you get your time alignment, everything. Which when you join competition, you will get all the scores. Competition, they actually have scores you hit. But that is for competition need. When you put a normal CD, you listen. you don't really enjoy it because it's not really music. It's
Yep.
purely too analytical already. Yeah,
Mm-mm.
yeah.
We
But
got a
these
question
days it's
from
no longer like that.
Yeah, got a question from Arif here. We can answer this.
Yeah.
Michael, I have an external DSP paired to my full set component set Pioneer speakers with Pioneer head unit and underseat active sub. Would you recommend installing an amplifier as well, or just the DSP alone is enough? I'd love to hear a comment or opinion on this.
Uh, okay, DSPs they are basically two types: a standalone DSP,
Mm.
okay, and a DSP plus an amplifier like the one in Mike's car, two in
Mm,
one.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so you will only buy a standalone DSP if you already have an amplifier. For example, you have one from your previous car, so you want to use it back, right? Then you will buy a standalone DSP. But
Yep.
if you have none of this, you're just depending on the player, the power which your player uh, gives.
mm, mm.
Every CD player that comes in the car, it has its own built-in power also.
Yep.
But the
Yep.
power is not much, maybe like 10 watts, 15 watts.
Mm,
So
mm,
once you upgrade to higher end speakers, normally the power handling is much higher. You need
mm,
to add another amplifier. So now you have two choices. You buy a standalone DSP and an amplifier, or you buy a two-in-one.
mm,
Okay,
Yep.
mm, 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 mm,
yeah.
mm,
The only difference is you will save much more space if you go for the two-in-one lah.
mm, mm, mm,
And
mm.
some
Mm.
cables lah, the cables connecting two
Yes.
Yeah.
items. Yeah,
Yep.
that's the only
Yep.
difference. Yeah, but 10 years ago, when you buy a separate a two-in-one, it doesn't sound very good. Same as two-in-one coffee 10 years ago doesn't taste as good as two-in-one coffee these days. It's the same thing. It's the same
Yes.
thing.
I mean,
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense if you don't want to overdo it in terms of your budget to go for an M and a DSP together.
Mm,
yeah.
Together.
Mm.
But if
Yeah.
you are the old school type, like have been playing audio for like 15, 20 years, you know that the even home audio they have a pre-amplifier, then amplifier,
Yep.
you need like a lot of different. You may want to still go into that ways because you were brought up that way that more
Yes.
things means better.
Correct.
Which, if you ask me, more things does make better sound, but it's more headache also lah, in terms of tuning, and
tuning.
then
Yes.
you need more expertise to match these items together because I've seen
Yep.
a lot of two-in-one may sound better than individual items if they are not put together properly.
Yep. Not matched. Sometimes.
Yeah, it's people buy things based on reviews and the brand main thing.
Yeah.
Okay? But when you
Yeah.
read reviews and all, you can't really hear. Even you watch YouTube and put your earphones, you can't really hear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Mm,
very difficult to hear. I mean, the best way is to go to the shop and listen to it. But the shop may be running a pair of speakers which you're not planning to get, or it's a totally different car. So it's quite
Yep.
difficult also.
mm.
So
I
in
like.
a
I
way,
like. Yeah.
you have to trust your tuner lah. You have to
Yeah.
trust your
I.
tuner,
I like.
and your tuner has to one way to find out whether your tuner will get the sound you want is he has to ask you what type of music you listen to.
Mm, mm,
He has
Yep.
to understand you first because if he doesn't understand you, then clearly he's just trying to sell you something lah, to move something out from his shop, right? Because
Yep.
everyone's preference is different.
Yes.
Like for example, my preference of a two-in-one coffee is totally different than yours. You may like yours more creamy, right? Mine, I like it more this way. So it's
Mm.
totally different. So a good tuner will be able to, although the customer is not uh, wants a system that is not his preference, will be able to do what the customer wants. Yeah, but of course, it's our job to also educate the consumer that, hey, why don't you listen to my car? What do you think? If the customer says no lah, this one is still too revealing for me in terms of they like the detail and all, but they find it noisy. Then you very well know that this person is a more laid back person. He just wants music,
mm,
more
mm.
soothing type. So you have to understand that you cannot just throw the system you want, you think good to him because he will not like it.
Yep.
Yeah. And then when he starts to show his friends also, their preference is also different. One thing. So he may like it, the friend may not like it.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Correct.
sometimes it's not easy to please everyone. Okay. Yeah, it's not easy. But the main difference between a lousy system and a good system is that when you play loud, the speakers, your amplifiers, everything, they don't clip. Clip meaning
Mm.
that they don't distort. Okay,
Yep.
even music is a form of distortion. For example, like if you listen to electronic guitar, it's distortion, right?
Mm.
Right?
Mm.
But
Yes.
it's the nice kind of distortion. I mean, it's controlled distortion. I'm talking about we don't want to hear distortion where your speakers are actually screaming like your like in terms of car, your engine is going to give up lah. Okay, but
Yes. Yes.
but when
Yes.
you push the car and it screams and the car is made to scream that note,
Yep.
then it's
Yep.
correct. For example, when we put in exhaust, it gives you that note you want,
Yep.
then it's the correct, right? But if it's screaming some other note which is like indication that something is not right, then it's not right.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's the same as car. So and everyone's exhaust is different. Also, you may like this note, the other person may like that note.
Correct.
So
Yes.
is tuning is not a one-time thing. The first thing the tuner needs to know is the preference of the consumer. But
Yeah.
having said so, a lot of consumers are also very not to say they're timid, but they don't share.
I
They don't
think
share
I
their
think they
they don't
I
share
think they
their
don't know what
preference
they,
immediately.
I think they don't. I think
They don't
Michael,
know
they don't
what
know
they
what
want,
they
right?
want. You see, for
Correct.
example, even in for ECU tuning, I think
Mm.
ECU tuning, if you go out in the market, because tuning it's a range, right? ECU tuning, you can tune your car to or however you want. Power output is there,
Yep.
but how the power comes, it's there, you know.
Yes.
You could
Correct.
do aggressive, you press, but okay lah, you show off to your friend lah. But showing off, obviously, yeah, it's like audio is like bam, bam, bam. That's show off. For ECU tuning,
Especially.
you press, let's show off. But the end power is still the same. But how you get there is important. So I think that in the world of easy tuning, a lot of people that say they go to customer and customer say, "Oh, I want this to show off," and they get it. And then they see like in real life, it's like it's crap. It's just horrible, and they come to us to retune again. Audio same
Yep.
thing also because they go on what the friends say opposed what they actually want lah. So you're right. You can talk to the customer, communicate with them. What is actually
Yep.
your desires? You got kids or not? You got wife or not? What does your wife listen to? Most often than not, people say they like audio, 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 but listen to
Yep.
radio. More often than not, if you listen to radio, different thing. If you know the Spotify, also different thing. Spotify
Yep.
through your phone or Spotify through Android device, also different quality. Because
Yes.
it all are different level of quality. So yeah, I think it's listening to the customer is very important. And I'm getting a lot of benefit here. I'm learning a lot from this topic. So guys, if you're learning more on this topic, if you find it beneficial, please say like, share, subscribe. Say you're enjoying the session.
Yep.
And John gave me a comment over here, which I'm trying to decipher here. John seems to be a person who knows about audio. The DSP itself acts as an amplifier based on the tuning of the equalizer. Adding an AB class amp would boost the frequency and kilowatt output to give better sound quality. Please decipher for us this statement, John. John?
Mike. Michael.
Mike, so Mike, sorry.
Let
I'm
me
a bit.
first.
Yeah, Michael is deciphering with his DSP.
I think is because DSP's the full term is digital sound processor. Okay,
Mm,
Yep.
so it's a processor, but these days is maybe 3-in-1, 4-in-1 processor where you get to control the crossover. Crossover means
mm,
the frequency that you're feeding the speakers.
Yep.
mm,
Okay. Second thing, you can do all the level matching of your whole system in this box. Okay. And then the third thing is you get to play. No, sorry. The third thing is you get to play with the time alignment.
Yep.
Okay,
So,
because
let's walk back there. So first thing you say is for the um, it's as a crossover.
as a
So
crossover, that's the first thing you should always set because you want to
so
protect your
Yep.
speakers. The
so what the
crossover
crossover does? Crossover helps to segregate the
segregates,
range.
so your tweeters don't get the bass signal, and
So
your
so
Yep.
so.
bass,
Mm,
yeah, and your bass, for example, your subwoofer is not singing. You wouldn't want voices and the highs to go into your subwoofer as well,
mm, mm, mm.
right? So then, of course, DSP is to do your time alignment. Time alignment is basically, you see, in the car, we are sitting very close to your door, right? Your right
Yep.
door.
Mm.
So your right door may have a woofer there, and then further up there's a tweeter there, right?
Yep.
Right. The other set of speakers on the left is easily like maybe 3 feet away, 3-4 feet away,
Yep.
Yep.
right? So the sound which reaches your ear first is the one at the door, your right door closest to your ears, right?
Mm.
So you have to use a DSP, a time alignment, to delay the speakers on your right, so that the
Yep.
left one, when it reaches your ear, even the tweeter and mids is different timing, you know. You want all to reach your ear at the same time.
Yep.
Mm.
So that is what they call it, time alignment. But in the home two-channel setup, that means you have two speakers spaced out and then you put your sofa in the middle. You don't have to do that because you get to move your sofa around, right?
Yep.
But in the
Correct.
car, we cannot move our driver's seat around
You can't.
Yeah.
unless you buy a one-seater car, or unless you're the big boss lah, you sit behind lah,
Unless you have
right?
a McLaren F1, then it's different.
Ah,
Other
ah,
than than
That,
that, you
that
can.
is a central position.
Yes,
yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
So, so the question there is more regarding the equalizer, right?
Mm.
It's saying actually equalizer, right? The way I use it in the car DSP is the last item which
Mm.
I actually fiddle with.
Mm.
Okay, I use only equalizer as a fine tuning. That means when everything else is sounding good already, that means your level matching, your time alignment, everything is done well already. Then you may find different cars have different reflecting surfaces, right? Some cars
Yep.
have a bigger window or bigger front screen than the others. Some cars have softer dashboard. Some cars have very hard plastic dashboard, right?
Yep.
Some cars have leather seats, some cars have fabric seats. So this all will affect the sound in your car. So the equalizer lets you tune depending on which car, because every car is different. Some cars have, for example, very muted vocals, so you need
Yep.
to adjust that. Or some cars have peaks in certain frequencies, which is very annoying because too many
Mm.
reflecting surfaces. So you need to
Mm.
reduce,
Yep.
right? Yeah. But a lot of people have the wrong thinking that equalizers are meant to boost signal, to boost, because the power is not enough. I want to boost more. This is a
Oh.
wrong way of thinking. When the power is not enough, you don't boost it using equalizer. You have to then look at your system again, whether
Mm,
your
mm,
speakers are
mm,
being
mm,
fed
mm.
enough power or not.
I see. I
Sometimes the
see.
amplifier is strong enough, but then the player is not giving enough voltage to
Mm.
push out that power from the amplifier.
So earlier you're saying about level matching. So that's
Yeah,
the level. That's the point that
that's
you
the level
try to make
matching.
sure
So
you make the powers are correct for the tweeter and the bass and the mid range.
correct, correct.
Yep.
So
Mm.
sometimes the installer will tune, then it start to tell you that actually the problem with your system now is the voltage feeding the amplifiers is not enough. But if you don't want to change your player, you can add a line driver. What a line driver does is to boost only the voltage. You don't, of course, if you have the budget, you're going to change another player which has high voltage. You can do that. But then many people don't want to do that because then it will change the look of their car, right? They say, hey, I like that player in my car, the stock player. I want the classic look. So I still
Mm.
want to use that player, but since that player, the voltage is too low to drive the amplifier, how do I boost it? Then you need to buy something like a line driver, which a lot of installers don't use these days, right? So,
Yep.
so they will not solve the problem if they ask you to buy another amplifier because it's the same thing. You buy another amplifier, even more, the power rating even more, but the voltage going into it is still the same. It's still very low. So
Yep.
you're spending money, but then you are still not getting the results. And you have to think about it. When you put a bigger amplifier, it draws more power from your charging system, your battery, your
Mm, mm,
alternator. So you're actually creating a bigger hole, a bigger
mm,
problem,
mm, mm.
Yep.
right? Yeah. Then finally, maybe you find a Sifu which tells you, hey, the problem is the voltage when you put in a line driver. But by then you already spent like another 5-10K, and then you'll be like, I don't want to play car audio already, lah, sell lah. Give up already. You know what I mean? So the people in the second-hand market will untung lah with this
Untung
kind of
lah.
Yep.
people. Yeah. So a lot of
Yeah.
people start buying things because partly is because when you go to the shops don't sell line
Sell
driver.
They
They
sell.
only sell amplifier. But then
Yep.
if they go and tell you go and buy a line driver, then you walk off, then what's the point? They don't make money, right? So
Correct,
they will
correct.
just tell you, your this one, your amp not powerful enough, like you going to change the amp. But there's nothing wrong with your amp. You have
Yes.
to see, if the amp's rating and your speaker's rating is more or less the same or is within the range, then why
Yes.
is the amp not being able to drive your speakers? Why? You have to ask
Could be even
why.
the wire, right? Actually.
Uh, Very highly unlikely lah. It's the
Mm-hmm.
wire lah. Unless your car already masuk banjir before your wires already turn to like pink color and black
Corrosion.
color, whatever color, corrosion lah.
You never
Okay.
know. You never
Yep.
know.
Okay. Wires is when you talk about amplifiers, right? As long as you are not into the SPL system where you're blasting and what, you don't really need very thick wires. The
Mm-mm.
Yep.
quality of the conductor, the copper they use is much more important. Okay,
Yep.
but if you are going for a very high powered system where you can listen to sound quality, but when you want it, you can blast and then you can hear it at the end of the block also. And that means you want to, right? Then the wires make sense. You need a thicker one, right? But
Mm-mm.
some places sell you thick wires, but then they are using something called CCA, like copper clad aluminium, which is not even copper. You know, it's like
Oh,
very thick, but half of it is aluminium, and aluminium
I
as a
see.
conductor is not as good as copper, right? So
Mm.
there are many ways for uh, people to cheat you. Wow, I'm selling you a very thick
Yep.
one, it's very good, but you
Yep.
you have to see what material they're using.
Yeah.
Some even mix it with zinc. Zinc is also not a very good conductor. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And the worst one is if you go to a shop and you start to see, wow, this cable very thick, but then the thickness is actually the jacket.
The
The
plastic.
Yep.
jacket is thick, but
Yes.
the conductor is in the middle is
Yep.
like a few
No.
strands of wire. Yeah, they do that. They do that, but people
Yes.
people buy into it. Yeah,
Yes.
and
Mm-mm.
then
The thicker, the
the
better.
yeah now the latest trend to make the cables look jange, right?
Yep.
They put another sleeving on top of the
Ah.
cable. It's something
Like
like
a like a
if you play
like a hostler,
snake
like
skin,
a
they call
braided.
it snake skin.
It's
Yeah,
a
braided.
braided
Yeah.
hostler, correct? Yeah.
They call it
Correct.
snake skin. This
Ah,
idea actually came from also like people playing gaming PC and all those. They build a PC inside with the lights and all the they got the
correct,
sleeve. It's
Yes.
correct.
very nice.
Yep.
So the sleeve actually makes the cable suddenly feel like it's very high end,
Mm.
but you
Mm.
don't know what's inside. Yeah. So
And
Yeah.
it's very nice because the sleeve will be black, be red color, in brown line will be black
yeah,
color. Looks very chunky. Some are
yes,
Rose
chrome.
blue.
Wow,
Yeah.
yeah.
looks
Rose
nice,
blue.
man.
But
Rose red.
but for car audio, honestly, you don't need all this snake skin or braid,
Yeah.
because it's
John.
going under your carpet anyway. You don't see it, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So John says
Yeah.
next time we meet, listen, yes, please join it. All of you guys, if you see me on the road, you see me on a drive, please come and say hi. Don't be shy. I would love to see your car and check you out. We are very friendly guys, Mike, myself.
Yep.
Please,
Yes.
please,
Yes.
please come and
Please.
say hi to us. Don't be shy and come and see us. Mike Leong says add amp and budget. Okay, put DSP also will work. Okay. As I said before, I think Michael was saying that a lot of factors around it, like, a
Yes.
lot of factors to decide.
I think at the end it's about balance, lah, huh, Michael?
Balance,
Yeah.
balance. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
balance. And Mike, remember when you approached me,
Yes.
uh, I didn't immediately try to sell you my tuning services also, right?
No. No. No.
Right.
Definitely
In
not.
fact,
Yes.
because I came from a consumer as well. I
Mm.
started as a
Yep.
car enthusiast first, and then I started. This is many years ago, since even before 2006 when I started my company, right?
Yep.
I started to look for budget stuff. Then after that, I started to go to make trips to Singapore. Singapore had
Yep.
much more
Yep.
things to see there. Very impromptu. It can suddenly be like Saturday mornings. I say, oh, let's go Singapore, and let's just go. But these days a bit
Yep.
different lah. When you want to go, you say, "What toll very mahal." Now
Yeah.
got roadblock lah, got don't know what lah, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, now is a bit different lah. The way
Yep.
we see it. Hmm.
Yes. I mean, both of us start our business with the same mantra, lah. Back then.
Yeah, yeah,
We got some
Yeah.
pictures here from, I think this is Mike's. Is that Mike, your car, Mike?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
my car, lah. When
Yeah.
it's all
Mike's
was
car.
out. Yeah.
yeah. So when
Yep.
it comes to DSP, I know it's a lot easier to just buy and then
Yep.
pay a tuner to tune.
Yes.
Okay, but I tell you, the enjoyment really comes when you learn how to tune your own DSP.
Yes.
Okay,
I haven't got
different
down to
different
that.
brands of DSP is only the interface only. Just for example, if you are Mac user, this interface, Android user, this interface. So,
Mm.
but the end of it, like how to tune the gain, how to tune the equalizer, is the same. The interface is only different only. So
Yeah.
this one you need to understand, because if you don't understand how to tune your DSP, there are a lot of ways for the tuner or the installers to con you,
Yep.
right? Because you will not know whether the items you buy can be maximized or not, because the installer can just tune a very bad sound and then just say, hey, your amp tak boleh lah. Then you end
Yep.
up going to buy another amp, right?
I'm so
So
poisoned now, lah, Michael.
you need to know the basics lah. At least, hey, this fella is bullshit lah. He went into my DSP, go and minus all the gain. That's why my amp like no power lah. You also need to know, You also need to
Yes.
know. Yeah. That's why I rather impart my knowledge, because being an enthusiast last time,
Mm, mm.
than
Yep.
just, wow, you have to pay me 600 ringgit, 1,000 ringgit to tune.
Ac- I think that is something, everybody try to go on a cheap way lah, in that
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I think what you have done on my car, which was just initial tune. Yeah. Yeah. It
Yeah.
has already been fabulous lah. Yeah. And it doesn't sound very digital, because as you were saying back then in its day, back then
Mm. Mm.
the sound, everything comes out very digital. Yeah.
Very
Because
fake,
I'm
right?
still, yeah, very fake. I'm actually a very analog guy lah. I
Mm.
still
Mm.
play vinyl at home, but I don't have
Mm.
sufficient time to do that lah nowadays. And the what you have tuned in the car, it doesn't feel very digital lah, which is brilliant lah, I find.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of brands here in the comment section below, so just go through some of them. So Mike Leong says
Yep.
he's a fan of Focal.
Yep.
He was talking about how a finder system can won't be noisy if your volumes are
Yep.
out.
Yes.
Arif says, look here, I wanted to install Focal, but pricey, he went to Pioneer instead. Mike
Yep.
Leong says Nakamichi has DSP system. Then he said, I tried Eaton, but Focal more a feel. And again, I think from what I see is like he said force access. So I think it's about preference at the end of the day. All these
Yep.
brands.
It's. I mean, as I can see, people have their brand preference. Okay,
Correct.
but partly it's because they are also not exposed to other brands, because there are
Yes.
many brands
Correct,
out there,
correct,
right?
correct, correct.
Yes.
And you have to
Yes.
understand certain brands like Focal, right?
Yep.
Focal is a speaker company.
Mm.
Okay, so now they have their own DSP. So the question you must ask is, are they making their own DSP, or
Ah,
someone else is making for them and then slap the brand
Yep.
Focal, right?
Yeah.
mm,
Yep.
Right. So when
Yeah.
the rule for me is that if you want to buy speakers, try to buy from a speaker company like Dine Audio, right?
Yep.
Like from Focal.
Yep.
You want to buy a DSP, then you find a company that does well on the DSP side. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay.
the most basic rule lah. But doesn't mean it's good lah. But at least you
mm,
start
mm.
from there lah. You start
Yeah,
from
yeah.
there lah.
I, I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
also I also agree with that statement. Like, I think people
Mm,
branch out because the customers want it, but doesn't mean
mm,
they have got the years of technology or R&D behind it. And people may hire to do it, like even like people say buy watches. I like Seiko because Seiko is a watch company, a lot of history behind it.
yes. Yes.
Yep.
Gucci may be okay, like it look nice to look at, or maybe a fossil, but you know
Mm.
what? It isn't like a Seiko. End of the day, they're a watch
Yep.
company.
Yes. Yes.
It's just different. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go
So
to other.
some people, the only reason I can find that makes sense if you want to stick to one brand is if you're doing a show car. It's nicer to have everything the same brand,
Mm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
when you make
Concern.
the decal for your car, so the sticker for your car, you only make one nice huge one. You don't like so many brands. It's so ugly, right?
Yep.
Like one whole list of line there. But I know for car performance, you can't do that lah. Suspension is suspension lah.
Yeah.
You don't have suspension people dealing with other things also, right? That's why you need that many brands. But these days, audio in general, they have to make the
Yep.
whole range. They have to sell you speakers. They have to sell you
Yes,
DSP
yes.
this and that. You know
Yeah.
why?
Mm.
Because they can't make enough money just selling speakers.
Mm.
And
Yes.
people love the brand so much that they trust They
The
trust like
trust.
I listened to
I,
vocal before. So their DSP, their amp should be good also lah. Should be
Be
lah.
good, lah.
Actually, they don't know.
yes,
It
yes, yes.
should be
Agree
good
with
lah.
you on that.
But then this is a very well-known brand from France, so it must be good lah. They cannot cheat
Must be.
me one. But
Yes,
it
So
doesn't
yes.
make sense, right? It doesn't make
like
sense.
when I was younger, playing my Vira and stuff, I love Plopang. So Plopang
Mm.
was my favorite brand.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I remember when my first car, I spent 5,000 ringgit to buy that car,
Mm.
and I spent 5,000 ringgit on the audio system.
Wow. There we
So
go.
I spent 100% of the car's value on, and this was 20, 30 years ago. So
Yep.
30 years ago. So yeah, it's just
I,
a brand I
I,
like, no? Yeah.
Yeah.
yes. And I think,
Blockbang, Kenwood, Sony, Alpine, these are all consumer brands lah.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Consumer
yeah, yeah.
brands. Yeah. Everyone will know the brand. When you start going
Yep.
into Itong and all those, these are a bit more exotic brands lah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Mm,
yes,
mm.
yes, yes,
And
yes.
then John David
I
make a
mean,
comment about, sorry, right?
yeah, like when you were telling me about the rainbow speakers, I haven't even heard of them actually.
Mm,
Yeah,
Mm.
but I just went with it, lah.
mm,
Yeah, since you recommended it.
mm, mm. And I guess all the stuff in the world, it doesn't buy you good quality input itself,
Yep,
lah. So wake, flag file, and then John talks about MP3 files using how many kilobyte per seconds, and also the compression of the particular file itself. It makes a difference when the source is good. You know what? The quality of the output also be good, like, you can't expect it to be fantastic.
Correct.
yeah, yeah. The sauce
Yeah.
is important, lah. Yeah, that's
Mm,
for sure.
mm, mm. So I got a
Source
question
is
from Sean
important. For
Ko.
example,
Question.
if you look at China, right?
Yep,
China, they even have a database of high res music, uncompressed music. It's
yep,
already in the cloud somewhere, and then you can just Wi-Fi it directly into your DSP. They don't have that in Malaysia yet. Also, I think US is one.
Wow.
China they have that.
wow,
Wow.
From your DSP M itself instead
wow.
of Bluetooth, this is Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi, is much better than Bluetooth, right?
Mm, mm,
It's
Yep,
not like outside, right?
yes,
This is
correct.
they have that, but you have to pay a subscription lah for it.
mm,
So
Wow.
all this eventually Malaysia will catch up also lah, but I don't know how
mm,
soon lah.
mm.
So they already have the technology now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get to the question. We are coming
Question,
close
yeah.
to an hour actually.
So Sean Ko asked, BMW F10 Harman Kardon sound system here. What can you do to fully utilize the ability of hardware, physical, and software? Can you give your opinion? So working on F10 before, what do you think?
Yes. Harman Kardon sound system.
Yeah.
The DSP lah. Change the DSP and amplifier first, and then if you have a budget, then only change the speakers. So why I say that is that your speakers aren't broken, right? Unless you're really finding like in my car, it doesn't have a tweeter. And then that one is very
Mm,
clear that we have to change speakers, right? Or we have to
Mm.
add a tweeter, right?
mm,
But
Yep.
if your Harman Kardon has a pair of tweeters and it's not broken, just change the amp and the DSP, right? The biggest difference you hear is, of course, you have to go for an amplifier which is more power than the one that is in your car. Okay.
Yep.
Second thing is this DSP allows you to freely tune to your preference, because the one that comes in your car,
Yep.
that Harman Kardon amplifier DSP that is built in, is already locked. Okay, it's already locked. But you probably be thinking, hey, this BMW people already paid Harman Kardon. They already done all the sound tests.
Yep.
It must be the best for that system already. Yes and no. Yes and no. Okay. Compared to if you dump everything inside and you didn't do any tuning, yes, it's better. But the tuning is done to the Guilo's taste, right?
yeah.
It's not to your taste, it's not to your
Yep.
musical taste. You may like a bit more bass, you may like the bass to be a bit more punchy. Your genre of music is different, There's so many things involved.
Yep.
I'll add to the point, Michael. Like
Yeah.
EC tuning and audio tuning, there's some similarities over here.
Yep.
When you buy a
Definitely.
car, the car comes to the tune. That tune needs
Yes.
to accommodate the hundreds of thousands of people who are buying that car. Imagine
Yes.
one tuner to accommodate for all people.
Yes.
The
Something
uncle,
people will not complain.
correct. The uncle, the grandfather, the young kid, everybody out there. You got
Mm.
millions of people buying the car, and all of them the same tuning. It's hard. They got to find like a middle ground somewhere. And that's what
Yeah.
tuning does. So it opens up that particular spectrum. And again, audio system, they can give something that's more bassy or more clear, but they can't because why? They must find middle ground. So it's a compromise. The best way to describe a standard car system in the car is it's a compromise. It's a
Yep.
compromise to have the more middle ground system set up for the general public. It's not. It's not for you.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's not for
And
you.
then, having said that, you have to understand that when you buy a car, it either comes with a Bosch original Bosch player or
Mm,
Blopang player
mm,
Yep.
or Decker player or something like that, right? A lot of these players already have a built-in DSP, okay? Because this DSP actually already filters out the low so that it doesn't go to your Twitter and all those. So when you
Yep.
start plonking in an aftermarket system on it, you have to understand that you have to, if the DSP is still on, I mean, it's
Mm.
still running on the player, you didn't turn it off, it's
Mm.
actually makes no sense also because the signal coming
Yes.
out is not full range. Yeah, you need to open it up first. So some players you can do that, some players you can't. Some players are really locked. You know, they
mm,
already
mm,
have a
mm,
built-in DSP, you can't change it. But there
mm,
are special devices out there that will recondition back the signal to full range. But having you have to buy another different item lah, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of cars don't get the same results, even they buy, like you jump in your friend's car, he bought Focal, he bought this amp, he bought some other stuff. How come when I buy the same thing I put in my car, I didn't get the same sound? That's because the player is
Yeah.
different. The
Correct.
player is different. Yeah. So
And then so
the
acoustics, everything is
installer,
different in the car.
yeah,
Mm.
acoustic can be compensated by the DSP.
Yep.
But if your
mm,
player has already locked that particular thing like that, that means it's not giving out much bass. Like a lot
Yep.
of Volvos, they already filter out the lows to it. So you can put a huge subwoofer inside. Suddenly, how come my system got no bass one? You know, you
Yep.
keep asking how come I put a very big sub already, but the bass not enough. So that's because the player already cut off the highs. So you need to buy another device to open it back up to
mm,
recondition back the
mm,
full
mm.
range signal. Either that or you change the player. But a lot of older Volvos, I'm not talking about those 240 lah, uh, the the ones maybe like 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
S60 and all that, right?
yeah, you can't even change the player because it comes with that panel thing, right?
Correct.
There's no one DIN or two DIN slot. So
Yep.
no choice. You want to play audio, you either have to hide a player elsewhere in your glove compartment, which I don't recommend, or
Mm.
you have to buy this reconditioner thing to recondition back the full range of signal. Yeah.
Mm,
Yep.
Most shops will try to sell you another player and then you hide it in your glove compartment. But that one is a bit weird, right? You want to change CD,
yeah.
you have to like lean over the
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
side. Then you need a remote control thing. Yeah.
So
So
Daniel asked a question. My Mercy class comes with a Burmeister sound system. Can the stock
mhm.
sound system be tuned?
No, stock sound system, the only tuning you can do is on the player itself. So if the player has a bass, treble, and maybe mid-range balance, fader, front and forward, that's as much as you can do.
Yeah.
You can't do much to it.
Mm,
Of course, there are a lot of ways to also passive tune. Passive tune means not using a DSP. You can, for example, add a capacitor to your player, which makes the
mm,
sound
mm.
fuller, you know.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Uh, but this capacitor I'm talking about is the one which Tana mentioned about, the one to store energy.
Mm, mm,
Yeah,
mm.
Ah. Okay.
and one behind, or you can change your fuses. You know, your car have fuses in the fuse box, which is for your
Yep.
audio system, right?
Yep.
Mm.
You can also tune it that way, where you can change.
Wow.
Uh,
It's clear,
you
lah.
can you
There's
can
no
change to
noise
a
from the.
hi-fi grade. You know, a fuse only costs like few cents,
Mm,
Yes. Correct.
but you can buy those audio tuning fuses, even
Wow.
hundreds of
hundreds
ringgits,
of.
thousands of ringgit.
Oh.
So you make sure you don't blow it only lah, because to pay hundreds of ringgit for a fuse is
For a
a
few.
lot of money. But all these things are passive tuning instead of
Yep.
DSP. DSP is digital tuning, right?
Mm, mm,
So there are
Yes.
many ways to tune your system.
mm, mm.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
like
I'm putting down Facebook
Wow.
contact for Michael down there, so you can go check out
Yep.
Michael there. I'll get the contact for Michael's phone number. Michael, can you pass me your phone number? I can put it on the banner there.
okay.
But
Ah.
yeah, it's it's crazy. I guess depends on the car, depends on the owner what they want,
Yep.
depends what's your priority.
Yeah,
Yeah, so many things like that.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
The main
Yeah.
thing is to make sure whatever you buy, you harness the full capability of it.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm,
don't do the same mistake like I only have budget to buy the speaker, so I'm going to throw all my budget there, and
uh,
then there is no budget for anything else,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, because it's
Correct.
all works together. You can have a 500 horsepower car, but you just want to run whatever tires, you will not be able to run very fast
Yeah.
also.
Yeah. Because
Right?
you need
Everything has
suspension
to.
as well. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Mm.
So the first thing you need to know is your budget. Your
Yep.
budget. Okay. Yeah. So when I ask my customer, first thing they meet me as I ask them for the budget. Some people may feel a bit apprehended. Wow, this guy want to sotong me. He ask me for budget. Yeah, but I need to know because I need to
Yes.
know. I need to know the budget.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't want to halfway or just sell you something and then you don't get the full benefit of the item, and then you start sharing with people that their brand is no good. Of course, you may not mention that Michael is no good, but you will say that, oh, I tried this brand before, it's no good lah. It's
Yeah.
actually
mm.
not the brand no good, it's your tuner
Preference
or
what you
your
want.
installer didn't tell you that to harness this one you must do this one like that.
Yep.
You must know the whole story, not just rely that brand is good, you plonk in the car and it sounds good. It's impossible.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. I
impossible. Yeah.
I mean a simple thing like you told me to run in
Mm.
the speakers. That's
Yeah.
what I did during the MCO.
Which
Yeah.
no
What do you mean run
installer
in?
will tell you to do that, right? No, I
Correct.
sold. Mike wanted to do his system, right? So most
Yep.
installers will make an appointment, and then you come
Mm.
over. They take out
Yep.
the speaker new, fresh from the box. They show
Yep.
they show the consumer. See, this one come with manual lah. Everything very good, brand new lah. The smell also brand new. And
Yep.
then they plug in your car, they tune, then you go home. Then that's the end of the transaction, right?
Yep.
But for Mike, I told Mike, you take the speakers home first, you plug it into your hi-fi system or whatever system, just run it first. Do the
Yep.
run in at home first. That saves you a lot
Yep.
of headache. Yeah. Because a
Yeah.
lot of people expect that when they already spend the money, they want the installer to tune straight away to get the sound they want, which is cannot. It
Yep.
doesn't work that way. It's very difficult. You
Yes.
need to run in the items first, especially speakers. When you talk about electronics, don't really need to run in because electronics takes few hours already, more or less. You can hear its capability. But speakers, the higher end the speakers, the longer it takes. It can take up to
Yep.
100 hours, 200 hours, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
yeah. So, of course, when I asked Mike to run in, I think you asked me to do it for you also, right? Do you?
Yes. Yes. I did.
Yeah. Don't ask me to run in your speakers lah, because if anyone asks me to run in the speakers, I'm going to plug into.
What to
Yeah.
plug
Yeah.
into?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I do have a special device which I bought to run
Yep.
in speakers. But then if you want it that way, that device actually run in speakers a lot faster, but it's chargeable lah, because I also bought the item, it's not cheap,
Mm,
right?
mm, mm.
But if
Yep.
you have a running stereo at home, it doesn't have to be a high-end stereo or powerful system. Just run it, just put in a room and just let it run. The only thing it burns is your electricity lah, you know.
Mm.
Yep. Yep.
That's
Yeah.
the only thing. Then you don't have to spend uh, the countless hours, after that waiting in the car, having to wait for the thing to run in. Then after run
Yep.
in, only I can properly tune. Yeah.
Yes.
Most
Yes.
people when they first install, their first impression is very important.
Mm.
So if you
Yeah.
don't run in, that first impression may be very negative, because some
Mm, mm.
speakers really sound terrible when they are not run in.
Mm.
Then you thought that,
Yes.
oh shit, I cannot go on, I bought the wrong thing. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah. So this is what another tip lah. If you buy anything, take home, run it in first. Speakers, you need to run in, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Even my car, I think now I got about maybe 10, 20, maybe 20 hours, 30 hours. I can hear that the electronics has improved.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Electronics, by 50 hours, you should all
Yes.
already run in.
Yeah. Yeah. Can feel that it's warmer lah. The sound is becoming warmer.
Less
Yeah.
less harsh.
Yeah. Less harsh. Correct. Yeah.
So,
So any other questions?
Mike Long says some amp need to warm up also. Crazy. Yeah, I
Yep.
guess we'll
Oh,
go to higher
amp
model.
don't really need to warm up a lot lah, just
Mm,
slightly. And the speakers need to they call it burn-in process because it's mechanical.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
yeah.
mm. Okay, guys, we're coming to the end of our show. So we got Michael's contact there, 01223156669.
Yep.
And again, what we do here is expose you guys to tuning, what can you tune in the car, and if you have friends who are doing a good job, I would recommend them,
Yep.
like Michael over here,
Yep.
because one the best experience for you, like owning a car experience is
Oh yes. Yes. Yes.
I think the waste of money in buying bad system is
Yep.
the terrifying experience, lah. you know.
And one more thing is, I noticed, now driving my BMW is a bit different, lah. When I drive the car now, yeah,
Mm,
it gives me a very nice, warm feeling driving the car now, with the good
yeah.
music coming out, and they say it gives you good endorphins
Mm.
as well.
I got one last question for Michael. So if you
Yes.
got a Boxster like mine over here, a drop
Open.
top, how do you do audio system? Because
Yes,
my Boxster doesn't have a dock-out audio system. There is a speaker on the I think the front the dashboard there on top
Asha.
there because it bounces off and comes to your CU. Like,
Mhm.
do you bother doing high-end or good audio on a like a Boxster?
Uh, if you look at your car, is don't you think it's similar with someone that owns Harley, a motorbike?
Yep.
No,
Yeah, yeah,
Harley bikers also want sound system.
Mm,
They
mm,
even
mm,
have
mm.
Rockford systems specially made for it. So
Okay.
yeah.
your case is kind of like them.
Mm,
They uh, they just want something that can go louder lah. It's same as
Yep.
a marine system. Marine, if you own a
Correct.
yacht,
Correct.
own
Correct.
a
yep,
speedboat,
yep,
so you just want something that gives you more power, more
It's clear.
punchy.
You can listen
But
and
you say you want to do like critical listening, like home audio and all those, then it's
yeah,
not
yep.
the best. Yeah, it's not the
the
best
best platform.
platform lah. Yes,
Mm.
correct. It's not the
Yeah,
best
yeah.
So
platform lah. But you will maybe just want to spruce it up so that the bass is stronger and everything lah.
mm.
But you
I
want
got to.
strong but not noisy. You know what I
I
mean?
want. I correct.
Yes.
I want it to be strong, and noisy, and I also want you to. Again, this is for you, Michael. Assignment. I'll be seeing you
Yeah,
soon after everything.
yeah. What's your
For
budget?
me, uh, can talk, can talk, can talk like can talk like budget can talk. I also want a head unit which
Mhm.
looks classic,
Stop. Is it?
classic old
Mhm.
and like black, like all the old 90s and 2000, like it's a black single thing or whatever. I don't want anything too much too far colorful. The theme and the
Mhm.
color car is all like orange kind of LEDs, So that
Mhm.
thing not to
Yep.
eye, something in that. I want to keep it stock looking, like,
Okay.
it's my yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe I don't know, maybe I don't know, but it's basically something that fits in the era, the whole 2000, early 2000, late 90s. Um,
Mhm.
the look of it is like orange LED kind of look display,
Mhm.
and of course the speaker systems, like, apparently stock from the factory it came with subwoofer, which is the
It's
parcel
a
shelf
Bose,
at the
right?
back.
Is it a Bose system?
No, no, this is the most basic Porsche you can get.
Oh, okay,
But
okay.
it's the basic one. It has
Sounds like my car.
there's a version which comes with the like a subwoofer on the parcel shelf. Mine doesn't.
Mhm.
Mine is the most basic one. So we'll have some
Mhm.
fun time tuning that. There'll be a video out with Michael. We're gonna do soon. So yeah, stay tuned, guys, and we'll see what we can do with the car.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you, Michael, for
Okay.
joining us. And
Yeah. Thank you.
You're
if
welcome.
you have
Thanks
any
for having
questions,
me.
again, contact Michael. That's the phone number. And
Yep.
next week we're coming up with. I think it's what, Michael? Mike, I
Oh,
forgot.
next week we call what Banker Live. We'll be at the
Oh
shop lah.
yes, correct.
Remember
Next
Nana?
week we are both in the shop. I will have
Banker
my
Live.
car, and we
Yep.
have Mike's car, and we want to
Yep.
do the shop itself. So
Yeah.
that'll be
Yeah.
interesting. General Hamza
Yes.
says install Bose Tana. Bose is a complete system. From what I know, at least you got to get
Yes.
everything as a set. It doesn't come like
Correct.
component. I think because the audio does it, and if you don't get the cleaning done, the system done, it's just a mess, lah. Don't I wouldn't want
Yeah.
to
If you
touch
get
Bose
the amplifier, a lot of stuff lah. You might as well just go aftermarket already lah.
aftermarket, lah. Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
answer that when he
Okay, okay.
says install
Ah,
Bose?
Yeah.
ah.
If a friend of yours has a Bose system and is giving it away and give it to you, then you can install. But if you have to buy it, don't buy. Okay?
Yes.
So you know where I'm getting at, lah. Of course, the whole system will sound better than stock. I'm not disputing
Yes.
that. But then to pay for it, you
Yeah.
must as well pay for something else. Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
Maxwell's closing
Correct.
statement.
Comment.
Buy other sound system, boss.
Mm.
I think
Boss.
yeah, Max, we will have you in the show at some point lah.
Yeah,
You
we
know,
gotta get Max on the
yeah,
show, lah. And
yeah, yeah. Got to make appointment for your R172 Max. Yeah. Let's see, this coming week, and in fact, we just did W212 with a 1.8 CGI as well. Yeah, so the customer very happy with the tune on this car. Yeah. All right.
so guys, thanks for sticking around.
Yep.
As usual, see you next week, 4 p.m. Same place,
Yes.
same time. Bye.
Yep. Bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye.